Hi everybody! A good friend of mine recommended this game called Wildcraft, and it just came in a couple days ago, so I'm going to open it up and show you what's inside and how to play this game. So this is a game about herbs and using herbs as remedies for minor problems like stomach aches or a bee sting, things like that. So the board is really beautifully illustrated. It's just a work of art in my opinion. And the all the pieces are also really nicely made. Like the cards are very nicely made. So it comes with all these little tiles and pieces. It comes like in a little sealed plastic bag, but they also include a little Ziploc bag in order to store your stuff, and they even include some rubber bands so that you can store your game nicely in the box when you're done. And little details like that are just, they delight me. I am an organizer at heart, and so when somebody thinks ahead of time about how to store a product that you have purchased, I love that forethought. So I appreciate little things like that, and so I wanted to point that out. Okay, so it comes with 3 different sets of cards. The one that I'm opening now is the cooperation card. The one to the left on the screen is called the trouble card with that X on it, and the one that's just out of screenshot, this one right here that I'm putting my rubber band on, is the plant card. Okay, so this is the little spinner that comes with it. You just have to assemble it the first time. It's very easy. Okay, so I'm going to go play the game, and I'll be right back with you to tell you how to play it too. Okay, so my 3 youngest kids and I just finished playing the game, so I'm going to walk you through it because it's pretty easy. And I just want to give you a full view of the board before I get the camera in place, because you're not going to be able to see the whole board once it's all in place. And I'm really sorry about the glare spots there. I hope it's not too distracting. Okay, so the first thing is that it says that you should read the whole front page first, which has some really important information about herb collecting in the wild, or just collecting plants in the wild. I didn't read it. I just went right into the story and the game. Okay, but I did come back afterwards and finish reading it, and just as a disclaimer, it's really important that unless you are qualified to identify plants in nature, you should never eat plants. And you should also teach your kids never to eat plants in nature, because a lot of times plants that poisonous plants might resemble plants that are totally edible, and also different parts of a plant might be edible while other parts might be poisonous. And so unless you're certain, they're advising you never to just go and harvest and eat them. And it also gives some other good advice about where to actually harvest plants if you are certain of what they actually are. Okay, and so this game also is about fun and inspiration. So even though you've got these different plant cards that go with these are called trouble cards. These are plant cards. So like, suppose you have sore muscles, and it's going to give you all these different plants that are going to help you with your sore muscles. Even if, this game isn't going to say, oh, here's the plant that you need for sore muscles, you just go and eat it and you'll be fine. That's not the way it works. There are certain preparations for herbs, or even essential oils, and so this is more for fun and inspiration, and that's what the game says at the very beginning. So I want to say that because a lot of us probably have some of these things either in our backyard or in our neighborhood or community garden, and so just to be on the safe side, it's important that we know that. That's why I'm spending the time right now to tell you about that. Okay, so the way we play games, we just like to get right into it, and I'm so lazy about reading the whole thing. And so what we did was, as soon as we figured out where everything went, we just jumped into it, and then we kind of learned as we went along. So these are the little huckleberries that you're supposed to go and collect. And what's really cool about this game is that it's a cooperative game, and so you all win and lose together, which is a really innovative idea with games. Okay, these black chips, you put them on. Let's move the game down for a minute so I can show you the very top here. So you have these different little compartments here that show the progression of the sun in the sky, and the objective of the game is to make it to the huckleberry patch, collect your buckets or baskets of huckleberries, and then bring them back down to Grandma's house before nightfall. And so anytime you fall on one of these moons here, you put a tile here, and if you get to the very end and you filled in all the tiles, then you did not win the game. So now if you're playing with 4 players, then it's quite a bit more challenging to get back in time before you use these up. But if you're playing with 2 players, then the game suggests that maybe you start off by already putting a few tiles in place to add some challenge to the game, because this game is not challenging actually at all. It's just fun to play. And my 9-year-old said he really liked this game because it wasn't competitive, but my 13-year-old, by the time he got about 10 or 20% into the game, he kind of left. So I think he wants the ones that provide a little bit more challenge and competition. Okay, so it's for 4 players or less, and you get these little markers, and you start it over here near Grandma's house. Okay, and you want to make it all the way around until you make it all the way here, and then you need to go back to Grandma's house. So you start off by spinning this little game piece here, and that says 3, and so you move your marker 3 spots, 1, 2, 3. So when you land on this rainbow card, you pick up one of these cards, and it's called a cooperation card. And so what you can do with this cooperation card is you can, right at this moment, bring another player, like any player that's behind you, you can bring that player up to where you are, okay? Or you can save this card. Oh, I completely forgot to tell you that you start with 4 plant cards to begin with. I'm really sorry. Okay, start with 4 plant cards. Okay, or you can save this card and use it anytime during the game to help another player with their trouble card. This is one of the trouble cards, and you get a trouble card when you land on the one that has an X. Okay, now if you land on a plant, there are different depictions of plants throughout. Then you take a plant card. It's the one with the dandelion on it, and it will have different kinds of plants that can solve the problem on your trouble card. So if you have a trouble card and you have the right plant, which I happen to have the right plant just on the 2 that I got, then you can discard that, and you can continue either way, but at least you can't finish the game without getting rid of all your trouble cards, but you work as a collective, I guess, because if another player has a cooperation card and this plant card, and another player gets this card, this player can say, here, I'll give you my cooperation card and the plant card that you need, and you can take all 3 of these and put it aside, and you can continue playing. But the nice thing is that even if you have a trouble card, you can continue playing. I mean, you could rack up 3 trouble cards and not have any solutions until you get close to getting to the huckleberry patch, and then you might get help from another player, or you might find the different plants that can help you. Okay, so let's continue playing this fictitious game with, let's do two players. Okay, so let's just say that player green has these different cards, plant cards, okay? And player blue is going to get 4 cards. You start off with 4 cards. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. And there we go. So that's for the blue player. Okay, so let's get the blue player going, and that's in between 2 and 3. So 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Purple is a rest stop. Okay, let's play player green here, and that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another rainbow card. So this player has another rainbow card. All right, and let's play player blue, and that's 2 spots, 1, 2. Okay, so he's going to get a trouble card, and this one is sore muscles. Okay, so let's see if we have sore muscles. Actually has a lot of different remedies. Let's see if we have the remedy. Cottonwood. Okay, so these are such beautifully illustrated cards and the whole game. I really love it. The colors are so vibrant. And let me just take a second to tell you that on the back of the directions are the people who came up with the game. 3 of them. Well, one of them sort of came up with the idea and hired somebody else, and I think this is the artist here. I could be mistaken. Anyway, it's so beautiful. I really like games that just feel like there's so much heart behind it, I guess. Okay, so Cottonwood is a remedy, so I can put those back at the bottom of the pile and we can continue. So green player, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so, oops, came out of camera frame. All right, so player green landed on the crescent here, and so way up here at the top, we put one of these black tiles right here. Okay, so let's do one more round for each one, then I can tell you some of the maybe trickier parts of the game. So 5 for player blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we also landed on this crescent, so we have to put another tile up here. All right, there we go. Okay, so now the object of the game is to make it all the way through to the huckleberry patch. Now the second you get into the huckleberry patch, you get to take 1 basket, and the whole point is to get 2 baskets and then make it all the way home. Okay, now suppose this player is here and it's the green player's turn again. Instead of spinning, for this play, he can just take another basket. Now he's gotten all the baskets he needs, right? But this player now needs to go. Now let's say that that player spins 2 and he goes 1, 2. He'd be done. No, that's the purple. So that's the rest stop. Purple is the rest stop. So he's still not in there yet. So he can't collect any of the baskets yet. But player green is still here. So he technically can just stay there one more time and collect another basket. So now there are 3 baskets collected, and you only need a total of 4. So basically one player collected 3, and then this player goes, he can collect 1, but now as a whole collective, they have enough baskets to begin their way home. Okay? Now, it looks like there's some quick ways to get home. Actually, there's some quick ways to slip back. So, on the way home, I believe that if you land here, you get to go all the way back down to here. And then you will need to make your way all the way back around. Oops, sorry, all the way back around to Grandma's house, okay? However, let's say for a minute that you're both climbing up, okay, towards the huckleberry patch, all right, and one of you ends up on this tree branch here. Again, I really apologize for the lighting. This board is reflecting a lot of my lights, so I hope that you can see it. Anyway, so suppose like this player ends up here and slides down this tree trunk. Okay, so he's come down quite a bit. Suppose this player is like right here and doesn't have too much more to go to get to the huckleberry patch. This player here can use a cooperation card, and instead of this player going all the way around again to get back up to where he was, this blue player can use a cooperation card to say, hey, come on up here. Okay, and then they can be at the same spot. Okay, so that's what's kind of cool. So you see some of these situations where you could slip so far back down to the beginning and you're like, oh man, but that's okay because you can always use a cooperation card in order to make it back up to where one of the other players are. Okay, so ways to fall down or to go back, ways to go forward, your challenge or trouble cards with your different solutions, okay? And the last thing, oh, and then of course you've got your, you have to make it back in a certain amount of time. So here the game encourages you to, make your own, like you can make your own changes to the game. It's, actually as a family we tend to do that quite a bit. So what we realized was going to make it a little bit easier for us when we were playing with 4 players was that by the time we got to about the second moon over here, which was maybe about 20 paces in, we realized that we wanted to make the game go a little bit faster. So we added some math to our game. And so anytime we spun this little wheel here, whatever we landed on, we multiplied it by 2 so that we could make our way through the board a little bit faster. And that made the rest of the game go a lot quicker. So you could also make other changes, like instead of collecting 2 baskets, you could collect 1 basket, or you could just team up, and instead of, like, it was my 2 boys and my daughter and me playing, and we could have just maybe played 2 players, and I could have been with my daughter and the 2 boys could have been together. So there's just a variety of ways that you could speed the game along, because there isn't strategy for this game and there isn't a lot of challenges. So the last thing is that my kids were not really reading what these the names of these herbs were, and I really wanted this to be educational, not just fun. And so by about halfway through the game, and I realized my son didn't even know how to pronounce some of these, I'm like, okay, no, let's, what was the trouble card that you got is what I'd say to him. And I'd say, what's the herb that you have? And then I would just kind of help him pronounce some of the words that he didn't know. And then also explain some of the things that I've either seen or that I know about, like my mother's garden has comfrey in it, and let's see, chamomile, we drink chamomile tea. And so I just try to point out some of these things that we either have in like my mom's garden, or ment's pretty common. You can find mint in a lot of different places. And just to kind of get them familiar with the name and how we use it, because some of these things we could use in cooking, or we could use just as for medicinal purposes. Okay, so that was me trying to not speed along in the game and to have a little bit more education in this game. Okay, last thing, again about the illustrations. Really, really beautiful illustrations, very nice cards, really well printed, nice and sturdy, beautiful board. Everything about it is so well made. The only thing that I'm concerned about are these tiny tiles, because my daughter, who's 4, kept trying to put them near her mouth, and she's 4, so she, as far as like chokables, she's not like within that age bracket where they tell kids that, where you shouldn't have toys for young children for chokeable reasons. But I was concerned about these tiles because they're just smooth and just, they're so much fun for kids to probably play with, or just, I don't know, try to put in their mouth. So this is the only, oh, and I guess the black tiles too, because they're nice and smooth and disc-like. That's the only thing that I would personally be a little bit more aware of. If your kids tend to be like my kids and try to put things in their mouth that they're not supposed to, that's the only thing that I would be mindful of. Other than that, it's such a beautiful game, It's really well made. I love it when you get to see the story about, you know, how it came together. And what's also really neat, oh, and the directions are very easy to follow. I'm just impatient and we just like to just start right away. But what was really nice too is that the game intros with this beautiful little story about playing at grandma's house with your cousins and grandma needs some huckleberries and the whole story behind it. And then if you want to continue the story, you can go to learningherbs.com slash wildcraft-game. Sorry, that's a mouthful. I'll of course provide the link. You can go to their website and you can continue the story, which is really great. Very delightful, very imaginative, and very educational. Okay, so I hope you guys like this. I'll have all the information and the links in the description to this video. Please check it out. It was really great. I love it a lot, and I think that my kids do too. All right, thanks for watching.